in the midst of COVID-19, billions of people's life is being affected in similar yet different ways. We take a look at how average people have been rolling with this pandemic in different parts of the world. We're fortunate to be able to work with a number of amazing individuals who are willing to share their stories in the time of Corona. We hope the stories that are unfolding here will give you positivity, hope, and strength to cope with the situation you're in. And my name's Li Ying.
I'm Leia.
We're gonna kick off with our stories.
Okay. Li Ying,
Yeah.
what do you do for a living?
I am a teacher. I work for a language center.
Mm-hmm.
I just moved to Shanghai last October, and I've been working for a few months for a language center.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you an outdoorsy person?
I am very much. I bike to work every day, two-way. That takes about like 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you live by yourself?
I live by myself. Actually, we are in my small apartment,
Yeah.
which is like sort of like a studio.
It's cozy. Yeah.
In Shanghai, it's because I just moved here
Yeah.
last year, and I'm pretty happy with this small place. It's quiet, and I have a very good landlord. And it's really housing is really expensive here. So
It is.
yeah.
So you mentioned that you're an outdoorsy person. You bike to work.
Yeah.
What's your favorite activity then?
Since I moved to Shanghai, I was really busy with work, and I got some part-time job as well, and then some other hobbies. In terms of being outdoors, the activity I did the most was biking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since the bikes are almost free.
So you mentioned that you just moved to Shanghai not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And where were you initially from?
I am originally from Jilin province, which is up north in China. I was born and raised in a village, but I left home for high school, for college, and for work in different parts of China. And then I finally quit my job in Wuhan, where I lived for 4 years in 2012, and I went to Malaysia to do my master's. And then I worked there for another 3 years, so in total I was there for 6 years, and I moved back to China in 2018, back to my hometown, not the village, but the city, the biggest city near my village. I lived there for like maybe 10 months, and couldn't stand it. It was nice, it was small, it's cheap to live there, but it's really difficult to meet similar minded people like you. I can't meet anyone like you who would collaborate with me in terms of this.
That's nice. That's nice of you to say that about me.
Exactly. And then so I was like, where shall I go? And Shanghai probably is the most international city in China, and I love the weather. Here I like greenery. Yeah, so that's
it's
why I
not
moved
that
here.
Nice.
Yeah, but can you imagine having like 4 or 5 months of winter?
That's terrible.
Without anything in green color outside. So I love snow, but it's just too gloomy, and it's far from every part of the country. It's really difficult to travel. If you're gonna go to Thailand, you have to transit in Beijing or Shanghai. It's really here, like I can get out of the country, not now, anytime I want, for a break. Yeah.
When the outbreak happened, what were you doing?
Oh, that was I didn't know about it until like a few days before Chinese New Year. That's when I was supposed to go back to Hubei province, my parents and my brother's city, which is called Huangshi, like 2 hours away from Wuhan. So I just got this phone call from my brother, which is weird. Usually we don't make phone calls in China. He made a phone call, and then I was like, oh, this must be something serious. I didn't follow the news. I was busy working, because during like a winter holidays for Chinese students is the busiest time for language centers. I had a lot of lessons, and then I just got this phone call from him. He was saying that, have you heard about this disease. And I'm like, what? It's like, I can't believe, like, you seem like you don't live in this world. And then so he's like, it's getting serious. And I didn't bother to check, because who would imagine anything like this happening out of the blue? And then so yeah, we really take things for granted. And then so he was like he was not sure what to tell me, because he didn't know much about it either. That time, like that was I think around January 20th.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like a day before my trip to Huangshi, uh, he like caught me like I heard a lot of people cancel their trips because of this, so you probably would be able to buy a ticket directly from Shanghai to Huangshi, because initially my ticket was to Wuhan, so I needed to change another train in Wuhan, which would not be a good idea to do. So luckily I could get a ticket from Shanghai to Huangshi, and I boarded the train with a mask on the whole time. It was really weird. And then the person actually, I got a sleeping coach, and there were like I think two or three of us. Okay, the other two people, they were wearing a mask, but they took it off,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what to do. My brother was like, just keep the mask on all the time, so that's what I did. And when I finally got back home in the morning, like a day before Chinese New Year, my brother and his wife, they had been following the news, and they were like, 10 hours after I got back home, they caught me at midnight. I was already in bed, I still didn't bother to check the news. I'm like, I've been so tired, working so hard. It's just family time. I didn't want to know anything about it. And then they called me. They were like, there's a possibility that the city could be locked down.
Right.
Do you want to leave? If you want, I would drive you to Zhejiang, which is another province like 2 hours away from Huangshi, to buy the earliest train ticket to go back to Shanghai. Because like if you waited here, the earliest train back to Shanghai would be the next day in the afternoon, and you would not know what would happen in the morning until the train time stuff. So, and I was like, I was a little blurred. I was like, I just wanted to sleep, because I didn't, busy. Didn't have enough time to sleep. And then I was like, and my parents like, yeah, it's up to you. And then I just, they drove me to Zhejiang, and along the way it was like a very weird feeling, because there were people wearing like the white, fully covered bodysuit, okay, with mask on, and checking everyone's temperature at the major checkpoints.
Wow.
And then when we were approaching, I just had this feeling, of sneaking into the border of another country, like an illegal immigrant. And I was worried that would this stop us? Okay, since I have been to Huangshi, which is close to Wuhan, and then my brother, no, we're not. Okay, so we got into that train station. We bought the ticket, and I was there waiting for the train for a few hours. But it was quite emotional for my brother, because he was like a very protective big brother role. And when I was leaving and he got really emotional, he ran after me at the door, and gave me a few masks. And then he was like, if you got sick in Shanghai, nobody would even care you, look after you. And he was really worried. And then it was like everyone was just not in a happy mood for Chinese New Year. Everyone was scared and unsure. And then there was not much of a festive mood. And then he was like and then after he got back, he talked to my parents, saying that it's really hard for him to see me living like that, not even having like a proper Chinese New Year dinner with us, and I'm gonna be here by myself. And he was really worried. But after I got back to Shanghai, my mood completely changed. I was like, I need to get out of here. I cannot be in my tiny apartment being trapped in my apartment by myself all the time. I don't have many friends here, even though I have friends. Okay, nobody wants to hang out, you know. And so and then I called my brother. I was like, I'm thinking of getting out of the country to Thailand or Malaysia or for a while, because it's close by, and I always miss the type of weather, the island, the beach, and it would be like a great getaway or escape. It's really escape. And then he was like, no, don't move. It's like, just stay in Shanghai. You never know what will happen. And then I was like, it would be very difficult to convince them. So I just bought the ticket, and I just left
to
to Thailand, because it was visa free. I could get a visa on arrival there. If I let's say I went to how to say, Malaysia, I would have to apply for visa online. Yeah. Okay, I was not sure, but after I came back to Shanghai, I also felt that it was like it's the whole festival was ruined, and I was like, I don't want to spend Chinese New Year alone. And then I contacted like not a friend, but somebody that I met. He was like, I'm not here. And then, okay, let's go to Thailand. And I'm like, you sure? And then he was like, yeah. I mean, like, he's like, I don't want to be here. And then so it's like a collaborate, how to say, collective decision made by two of us. Yeah. But yeah, and then that situation forced you to be with someone for, that you really don't know that much. And then actually a few days into our trip there, we found like a lot of differences between us, and then we separated our ways. But I was very grateful that he was there for me, especially when I follow the news in the first few days. The cases, the infection cases, like it just jumped. And then my parents and my brother immediately got into the self quarantined mode, and I was there enjoying the sun, the freedom. I was having this feeling of being guilty, and also like I was scared. And then I just and also like one morning I woke up, I just found that Kobe Bryant passed, and then I just felt immediately, I started crying, because that reminded me of my father. He is a huge fan of NBA, and then I'm like, oh, but he would feel really bad, and I started missing them a lot. Because I was like, I didn't know what would happen. I was scared that would they get enough food, and then how things would go. And I couldn't tell them that I was in Thailand, because that would got into a lot of discussion, and then they would immediately ask me to come back, which I didn't want to. And also the information we got, it was like, because they got quarantined, and they in the first few days they tended to be like nervous and scared and kind of negative as well. And then but I started, because the person that I was with, was quite carefree about this thing, not bothered. He was not even wearing a mask. He was like, this wouldn't help. I wouldn't say it, whether he was right or wrong, because like that's how people feel differently about this thing, especially when they didn't know much about it. And then so I just like it was the first few days, it was a very complicated feeling for me. Yeah. And I couldn't tell them. And yeah, but I started watching some videos on BBC. I remember there was one like a video which was very informative about what corona, that time it was still called the coronavirus, what it was, and then about the the death rate and stuff. So I forwarded that to my brother. I didn't know how much he understood it, because it was in English. So it was quite, maybe because it was not happening in those countries in Europe, and other countries, yet. So it was like they approached it differently. So I watched a lot of English news, and I was not scared. I was not here. And Thailand, it was completely a different, atmosphere. Um, when I arrived there, I think there were 11 cases. So you don't see people wear a mask. Occasionally, one or two, like a Chinese tourist, and then so that was it. And it was just Thailand is always the happiest place for me ever. The food, I think we all agree with this. The food, the island vibe, and then the people, they were just nice. And I didn't encounter any negativity there at all. And people like they were not bothered by this virus thing, and they were like, some people were like, this is hot, hot weather, it's hard for the virus to hit us. So and of course it's a very touristy place. There were a lot of activities going on. And I was also working online, okay, at the end of January, since it was still our busy time, and sometimes I had to teach 8 or 6 hours in a day. But the good thing is, in the evening I get to go out, enjoy the breeze after such a long day of working online. It's really hard to teach 6 or 8 hours online staring at the screen, and sometimes the internet connection was not good. So it was like it was hard to be trapped in a hotel room teaching, and then but the best time is in the evening. I could go to the seaside, have a nice meal, enjoy the breeze. I was really blessed. I was really, really blessed, and I was very grateful to Thai people. And like a half a month into my stay there, I needed to figure out my visa, because I could only stay there for 15 days on a visa on arrival. So I went to Phuket. Initially I was in Krabi, which was a small island that I've been there before. It was nice and cozy. I always liked it. I chose Krabi instead of other places because it was cheaper. And then we also booked a flight to Indonesia before my visa expired, but unfortunately it was canceled because Indonesia stopped Chinese from coming in at a very early stage. And then I went to Phuket to the immigration office to figure out my visa issue, and it was a bit of a hassle because I had to go there a few times with all the documents, as Thai government had a policy that Chinese tourists who got stuck there could stay for 90 days. And there are two ways of extending your visa. One is just go to the immigration office, pay I think for 1900 Thai baht to extend it to a 30-day stay. Otherwise, you could just do nothing and then leave at the airport and you won't be blacklisted, which I chose the second one because it was free. And but overall, it was just like it's a fantastic escape. It's a fantastic escape because I'm really into the island vibe. But after a while, I think the tone in China also changed. Okay, I didn't feel that much of a pressure, like emotionally, from being worried about my family. Because at first, later on, you could see funny videos about people, joking about the quarantining thing. So, yeah.
Okay, that was a really long answer.
Oh yeah, I
was
babbling.
going to ask you a series questions, like outlining the entire situation, but you answered everything yourself. That's great. On a scale of 1 to 10, I guess, how afraid of this virus are you?
I think 4.
4.
Okay, very low.
Very low.
Cause and funny thing, I forgot to tell you. I think 15 days into my stay in Thailand, I got a phone call from CDC, Chinese Disease Control Center, I think. The lady was pretty calm. It was like, "Are you Li Ying? Did you take a train on I think 22nd from Zhejiang to Shanghai. I'm like, yeah. And then she was like, oh, we just want to inform you that there was a person in your coach who got infected.
Wow.
And then I was like, and then I was shocked. And then she was like, do you have any symptoms of fever, cough? And I'm like, chest pain. I'm like, no. And then she was like, then don't worry, but try not to go out so often. I didn't tell her that I was in Thailand. And that was like, and then I didn't know how to digest this information. I mean, like,
were you scared?
Not scared, because that was 15 days after I took the train. And I started thinking, I mean, who got affected, you know? I wanted to ask her, like, who was this person, how old this person was, and what kind of situation this person is in at the moment. I guess I can't, and I guess she would not give me the information. Yeah, so then I just didn't ask, and I felt sorry for that person. I also felt lucky for myself, honestly speaking. And then that just like, because I think everyone's curious about, like, who gets affected. Of course we all know that, the facts that are out there, like people who have chronic diseases are more likely to get it. But we also have, like a seemingly young, healthy people who got, infected. So it's like a.
I mean, from where I've been getting my information, it's like, yeah, everybody is likely to get it if you're not careful enough.
Yeah, true. And then, so and then I think a month after I was in Thailand, my brother asked me to tutor his son with his English work online. And then he was he actually asked a few times, how's everything in Shanghai? Every time I would just it's all right, it's nothing much. Okay, I'm not doing much. Teaching online most of the time. But I could feel that he was suspicious, because, like, I was not very active in our family group chat, partly because I was very busy with teaching and tired, and second of all, I just didn't know what to say. I didn't feel comfortable lying to them about my whereabouts. And also, I think on WeChat we have this step ranking thing, like people could see how many steps you walked. And then I think mine was a lot. So my brother asked me a few times, did you go out often? And I'm like, no. And then, so, like, when he asked me to tutor his son, and I was like, I'm in Thailand. I'm in Thailand. I just confessed, I'm in Thailand. And that time I think there were like 30 cases. And then, and then he didn't say anything, and a few hours later he called me, come back, if anything broke out, or in countries like Thailand, it's either that you will be trapped there, or you'll be quarantined after you come back. So, and then it was like, it was very difficult to tell him that I think everything will be all right, because first of all, he was quarantined. He probably saw things differently. Another thing is, my brother and I are different. He was, to quote him, was like, I didn't pay close attention to this situation. I should have been more updated about the information and be aware of the seriousness of this pandemic. And I, on the other hand, I was completely on the contrary. I was like, I am gonna make it sounds. I was trying to keep it low key. I didn't tell many of my friends that I was in Thailand, because many of my friends were in Wuhan. Because I worked there. I had a lot of work friends from Wuhan, so I was like, I kept it low key. I didn't post anything. Usually when I go travel, I probably will just upload a few pictures. Not too much selfies, but the views and stuff. So this time I didn't post anything. I was just like, I just want to make use of this rare opportunity of being away from Shanghai, which was so busy and so stressful, and just be there and then just clear my mind, go out and sit on the beach and get a suntan and play some volleyball with people around the world, and then just detach myself from this. And I didn't want to follow the news of all the time. I mean, following the news too much really isn't that good, you know. I mean, like, but I guess my brother and they wanted to know what will happen next, so they follow the news closely. And then so that's why it was very difficult to even discuss with him. It's like, you know, I felt that I didn't I'm not in a place to disagree with him, because, you know, I was not in his situation, you know. And then he was like worried about me. So to a point, he even hung up on me, because he asked me, why didn't you want to come back? You've been there for like a month already. It's even though you know, even though you're on holiday, it's time to come back. And then I was like, because it's too comfortable here. Mm-hmm. And when he heard the word comfortable, he's like, I can't talk to you. He just hung up on me. I didn't take it personal. I knew he was worried about me. And then his wife started mediating. And then I told her I was really grateful that, you know, you too, you know, kind of helped me get out of Huangshi in time. Yeah, I will watch the situation in Thailand closely, and which I did. You know, after I think 2 weeks after I told my brother about me being in Thailand, I came back. Yeah, and it was not easy coming back. I mean, like, I didn't share with you the photos that I took at the airport in Thailand. You know, I was like, I was not wearing a mask initially. And then when I entered the airport, I had to, because I was one of the few people who didn't wear a mask. So I put it on. And then I saw people wearing a raincoat. And then like a raincoat, and then goggles, and then gloves. And then they were like spraying themselves, you know. Part of me was like amused. Part of me was like, how serious was this thing? Because I was kind of in a bubble, you know. Yeah, I was in a bubble. I was not exposed to, you know, probably the real situation, and I was not experiencing it as other people. So I could not judge others. And then I got back to Shanghai. Luckily, I was not. I got a green label at the airport. Initially, if you get red label or yellow label, probably you would be quarantined to some extent, either home quarantining or going to a place to be quarantined with other people. And then, so I came back to my apartment, and then I just needed to report about my temperature twice a day in a WeChat group. We like our condo management WeChat group. And then and then it was in Shanghai. I think when I came back, there were like 30 cases. Now there are more because of the imported cases, but pretty much like life is back to normal, even though you need to go through like a temperature check when you go to public places. But for me, it's like I was in I was in Thailand for almost 2 months, and then in total I have lived in Shanghai for a few months. So, since October, and this time coming back, it was like I didn't want to. If it was for the situation in Thailand, I wish I could have stayed there longer. It's really. I lived in Malaysia for 6 years. It's the type of weather that I was comfortable to. It was the kind of a simple life that I liked. I was just wearing one same dress almost every day. Every day I would go to the beach and then eat this same food every day. And life was just simpler and easier and carefree. But back in Shanghai, the vibe is there. You know, it's like it's very...
Back in Shanghai, but I mean... There's not much going on in Shanghai either.
Yeah,
at the
and
moment.
at the moment there's not much going on, but I don't have many lessons to now. I think my language center is now doing very well since the beginning of March. Because we got a lot of existing students in January and February, but since the beginning of March there were not many new students. I signing up for courses. I guess it has something to do with the bigger picture because kids are doing online learning, their school curriculum learning. My center focuses on international exams like the IELTS and TOEFL, and these exams are canceled. So a lot of students are not in a rush to take the course. That's why the exam eventually they will not take the course. So and then that's something I need to think about as well. I mean, I don't know how this situation will last. If it's just 1 month or 2 months, it's all right. If it's gonna be 4 or 5 or 6 months, I really need to be thinking about my job option because like here the living cost is there, Yeah. So and I have friends in the same industry. They have the same concern as well. Yeah.
You mentioned that your brother really was worrying about you, right? Were you worried about him and your family in Huangshu?
I was, as I said, initially I was okay, and I felt that I was like a traitor, not staying, in the same boat with them. Okay, not experiencing the thing with them. I was because more about my parents because they were like in their 60s, and then they didn't know how to use like all these apps to order food and stuff. Like initially my brother would buy things and would bring food to my parents, but after a while he couldn't leave his apartment anymore because there were 2 cases in his condo, and then the whole his building was like blocked. No one could go out, and then I think he didn't want to go out either, so he would order food for my parents online, and then my parents condo, they would give free food for people who are over 60 years old or 65. I forgot about the number, the age, and then so they managed to have food, but it's like there were not many choices because my father was craving for potatoes and it was hard to get, and then he was like waited for a few days to get potatoes, and it was kind of expensive, like not very expensive but slightly more expensive than the usual market price. I was worried about them, but since they quarantined themselves very early, I was like and also like I had so many friends in Wuhan, and I asked all of them. None of them had like family members who got like infected, so I would be like then the chance probably is not that high, because I had so many friends in Wuhan, and there were so many people. Majority of people of the infected cases were from Wuhan. So I mean, like if their family members didn't get it, and then it should be all right. Should be all right. So
you're less worried about the disease, more about the like living condition, a little bit.
The disease, I mean, like it's just like we didn't know what it was, and we didn't know like medically what would happen to that. We were just assuming it would be like SARS. It would be there for a few months and then it would be gone, or finally there will be some cure. That was the thing. And when I was in Thailand, I mean, like I was not very much in this thinking mode. I was like not thinking much because I think that's what the weather does to you and the whole vibe. Because when you're on an island, it's hot. It's like it's just like I think everything slows down, and then just like I think what people. I didn't ask. I'm gonna ask you later, because what were you thinking, by the way?
I mean, Thailand is getting into a kind of emergency mode right now currently. Because my friend is mentioning that they had to work from home now. So you got out before a lot of that happened.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was me.
Running away from the.
Running away. I was
Right.
running away. When I was in Thailand, I met people. I met because like I was with this guy for I think 2 weeks, and then we separated our ways. Together we met people. Together we met people like we met people who worked in China, but they were not Chinese. There were many people like us who left when they realized there was this disease. There were also people who left without knowing about this because it was holiday time. They went to Thailand for holiday, and then so we met them. And then a very interesting thing, I met people who are not Chinese but who live in China, who work in China, and immediately we bonded because of this virus thing. And we were like teasing each other, saying that we were like virus refugees. And then they're like, come on. And then so something like that. And then it was, we would talk about it a little bit. And and then so that's and then after we went separate ways, I was feeling like I knew it was the right thing to do, but part of me was like still feeling a little bit sad. And then so I moved to another hotel, which was quiet up on the hill. It had a very nice view, and the price was good. Finally I started renting for monthly, and then the hotel renter, the manager was Italian. And then it was a very pleasant stay there. And then so it was also like a journey of me searching for myself, I guess.
I'm glad you had a nice time over there.
Yeah, it was overall it was really good. It was really good. Yeah.
Cool.
So
you never experienced any real quarantine time, right? Like you never really had to like either self quarantine or get forced into a quarantine. What was the longest period of time that you had to stay indoor? Either back either in Shanghai or in Thailand.
In Thailand, okay, just maybe like no, never really, a few hours at night.
Okay, so
and then
so basically you went out every day.
Yeah, every day.
Shanghai,
I think a day or two.
Okay.
It was terrible. It was terrible. I started
because you're really outdoorsy. I get it. Yeah.
That's for one. Two, cause I had no one around me, in my apartment. And then so that's gloomy and lonely. And then if I stayed indoors for a long time, I won't be able to realize it, but I think I started having a lot of negative thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of, I guess people in China have experienced it, and right now a lot of people overseas are experiencing it, like self-quarantining and social distancing. If you had to cope with it, what would you do?
Because like we live in Shanghai. There was you basically can go out, right? Okay, you have the freedom to go out.
I'm just saying that if you don't have the freedom, what would you do inside?
Okay, if I didn't have the freedom, what would I do? Sports. okay, I would do like I have some basic like a sports facilities like that to work on my arms, and then I think I would do sports. And I think I would. I think it would be crazy actually if, given the fact that I had to teach 6 or 8 hours, and then I couldn't go out at the end of the workday. For February, definitely, I think I would be crazy. I would I probably would be insane. And then if it's March when I, didn't have many lessons, and I wouldn't be able to go out, I think I'll probably be doing sports, or maybe doing something creative, working on a podcast idea and stuff like that, and reaching out to people online, but I really can't imagine. I think I would. I don't know. I think mental problems would be too strong a word to a term to use, but definitely I think it will affect my mental health. Yeah.
So, what types of precaution did you take to prepare? I guess you never really had to prepare for it, but, or I guess currently, are you taking any precautions?
When I was in
disease?
When I was in Thailand, I washed my hands very often. I started buying sanitizers. Funny thing, it was quite hard to buy sanitizers.
That's not that funny.
Yeah, it's not funny. Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that there were not many cases in Thailand, and still it was hard to buy sanitizers. I walked to many pharmacies. Finally, I got some. Okay, they're all there. And then
I would imagine, because I guess in China, during the first months, everything was sold out: masks, sanitizer, soap, alcohol. I guess everything.
Yeah.
It got sold out. It was really hard to stock up, or I don't know. I guess people had a really hard time here.
Yeah, actually, before I left, before I left, after I came back from Huangshi, I wanted to buy some masks, and then I checked a few convenience stores. It was either too expensive, or it was not even medical masks. Yeah, so I could understand, and I started buying some online, but it was out of stock. And I even asked my sister to buy some, because she lived in our hometown up north, where there were no cases in the first place still, and it was hard for her to buy masks.
There was a huge shortage.
Yeah, there was a huge shortage. And when I was in Thailand, in terms of precautions, I think I washed my hands a lot, and I not much of precaution. I exercised a lot. I walked a lot. I didn't ride a bike. I basically just walk everywhere, from my hotel to the beach, and just a lot of walking, a lot of exercise, and healthy food. And I forgot to tell you something, a little bit funny, because when I was there, as I said, okay, no prejudice, no discrimination. Instead, I saw a lot of sharing uplifting words on the big billboards, okay, in Phuket. You could see stay strong China, we're with you Wuhan, in Chinese language, in Thai language, in English, and it's flashing there 24 hours. It was really heartwarming. And then I took some photos. I think I sent you one, okay, about one thing under the tree. And then one time I was having food at a restaurant. You can sit by the counter, and then they'll cook food for you in front of you. And then I was eating there, and there was I think a person who was around 60 years old. He was a tourist, and I was eating there, and he was sitting next to me, and I could feel that he was checking me out. but I didn't turn. I was just focusing on my food. And when I finished, I was about to leave, and then he started I wouldn't say hitting on me, but talking to me, he's like, oh, the food was nice, huh? I'm like, really good. And then he wanted to get into this conversation, and then he was like, where you from? And I'm like, China. And he's like, he was literally shocked, and then he was taken aback, and then I was a little bit mean, so I was like, now you don't want to talk to me, huh? And he was like, okay. So yeah, that's one little episode. Yeah. So other than that, nothing. Other than that, nothing. Even I was on some dating apps there, and then so when I mentioned that from China, do you still want to meet up? And then usually the other person would be like, oh, yeah, totally. And yeah, it's like not bothered at all. Yeah. So that was
Okay.
that was the time.
Now we know.
Yeah. So same question. Okay, do you have more questions for me? I think I have so many questions.
I have one final question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. When this is all over, when we say we expect a cure gets invented, when it is all over, what is the first thing that you want, that you currently would not be able to do but you want to do? When is it?
I think there are two. Okay. One is to meet up with someone that I met in Thailand. Okay, we met in Thailand, and we spent right before I left for China, and right before he left for his country, and then we just hit it off so well, and then it was very difficult for us to say goodbye, and then so definitely I think I would visit him or him visiting me. And another thing is, I think I when I was in Thailand, I was thinking about my career choice, and I met people who all started reflecting on their jobs and stuff. Okay, I've met people who work for big corporate, and they were like, because now finally they got a break. Especially like when you work for in a very a stressful city or in a very stressful industry, it's hard. You can't have a really long break, because maybe you have 2 weeks of break, and then you just started relaxing, and then it's time for you to go back to work, and you have family to support and financial responsibilities. So when everything stopped, even though you want to work, you can't. And that started you started thinking about your career choice, why would I spend so many hours in my office? What's the point of my work? What's the meaning of my job? And then so I started thinking about that too, and I'm like, did I give myself enough time to be connected to the nature, to be outside, to meet people, to chat with people? And all these years studying, working, and then it's you're just being, I don't know, you're just being this whirlwind, and then you didn't really have good quality time for yourself, and to just cherish those or appreciate those little things in life. So I think I probably would get a job that allows me to move from place to place. So that would be something that I would do.
Cool. Cool. That concludes my questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's a really